Okay, so thank you very much again, everybody that joined us today. Uh, the idea of this webinar is to learn a little bit more about the Brazilian dental sector. And for that, we have some experts with us today. We have Regiane Marton from CUSER and ABIMO, the Brazilian Association of Medical and Dental Devices. As well as Diego Lozada from the company Domo Salute, which is an expert on Brazilian certification. To start, I would like to invite Ms. Tali Siegel, our economic counsel. Tali, please.
Thank you very much, Paula, and thank you, Rafael, for organizing it, and of course to our partners in Brazil. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's our pleasure, and we are very happy to do such an event in a very important topic that we didn't. I think we never did before something like this from the Rio office. So my presentation is in Hebrew due to the fact that most of the crowd is Israeli, but I will speak in English. So just to introduce ourselves, we are the Israeli Economic Mission from Israel to Rio, Brazil. Being in Brazil and having Brazil as such an important country for Israel, we have two economic missions. We have one located in Sao Paulo, led by my friend Safi Life, and the other one is in Rio. Our offices are divided by sectors, and therefore there are some sectors that my colleagues promote and some of it that our office do. And some of them we work together, but at the end we work together for the same goal, and it's to enhance the economical relation between Brazil and Israel in all of the field, and helping Israeli companies to penetrate the Brazilian market, to get to know the market. And myself and our teams are here for you for that. A little bit about Brazil for those of you who doesn't know it yet, who haven't done business yet in Brazil. So Brazil is one of the 10 biggest economies in the world. Sorry, I think it jumped. Sorry, it jumped to the economy. So Brazil is the biggest country in Latin America, with 8.5 kilometers square. It has a border with all of the countries around, apart from Chile and Ecuador, with a population of 213 million people, and keep on counting. I mean, the numbers are growing and growing pretty fast. I think when I arrived here about 4 years ago, it was 210. So you can imagine. The formal language is Portuguese. The currency is Brazilian real. The capital is Brasilia since 63, and Brazil is built in a way that it has 26 states and a federal district, which is Brasilia, the capital. It is a federal democratic republic, and the president since 2019 is Jair Bolsonaro, that actually changed the regime from a social regime to the right. And is a very pro-Israel, that he says almost about every stage. And this is the change there was in the politics of Brazil, and it is one of the 10 biggest economies in the world. It is important to remember that even though the big crisis that the world is still in the past 2 years with the pandemic, Brazil is still keeping its place, being one of the 10 biggest economies in the world. That makes it a very important economy, an important economy for Israel, which I will talk about in a few. The GDP per capita is about $7,000, ranked 104 in the world, with a forecast, it's important to say, a forecast of growth of 5.3, inflation and unemployment that of course grew in recent year, and the real to the dollar is 5.5 today. I'm talking about the forecast because it is important to remember that even though Brazil suffered some crisis in recent years due to a political crisis that led to an economical crisis, it always finds its way to rise up, to get up from it, and still to keep its place in a very high ranked place in the world as an important economy. And today, even though we had like the old word forecast that spoke about negative growth and of course that the economy was hurt, today we do see the prediction is very optimistic to what's going to happen in the world, and this is how we see Brazil. One of the things that leads to it would probably be the vaccination. I know that we are very proud of ourselves in Israel with the great vaccination program, but Brazil is much bigger. And today, almost 73% of the population is vaccinated with the first dose, with the second dose. At the end of the day, it is a huge population and a huge operation to be done, and it's done very well. Some are already, it's not in the slide, but some are already after the third dose, and therefore we do see a lot of, we are very optimistic about 2022 and the things that, and how it's going to be economic and business-wise in Brazil. A little bit about Brazil and Israel, which is very important for us. Brazil is a very important ally and a very important economical partner with a trade balance of 1.5 billion dollars. And we're very happy to say that this number almost kept the same in 2020 with all the challenges that 2020 brought. So it only makes it, it only emphasizes how Brazil is important to us and to Israel as a partner. It is one of the 10 biggest countries that, one of the biggest export countries that Israel export to. And maybe, but maybe it is because of the agreement, the foreign trade agreement that Israel has with the Mercosur. Mercosur are the countries of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay that have an agreement, and Israel did with them an agreement that was approved about 10 years ago. And that means that all of the items that are in the agreement are on zero import tax. That gives the Israeli goods and the Israeli services a lot of advantage and a good competition in Latin America in general. We also have R&D agreements to enhance our collaboration together with a few bodies such as MBRP and FINEPI. These agreements have raised a few open calls for Israeli companies to collaborate with Brazilian companies, and almost in most of the cases, the medical field is on the table, and therefore if it is in your interest, so please follow up, and I'm sure that soon, probably in 2022, we'll have a new open call. We also have a program, Scale Up Brazil, to come and learn the market, and this is also something that happens basically on a yearly basis. It depends, of course, on the pandemic, and hoping that it's not gonna hurt 2022. We really see as a competing economy. Israel is a small market that always looking to export, always looking at the world with a lot of technology and a lot of innovation, and Brazil being a huge market that consume a lot of technologies and is very interesting of scaling up of innovation and development, and therefore we see a lot of ways to collaborate and to work together, and we see it in many fields in innovation in general, medical field being one of the important, and of course the dental. So we will be more than happy to see you with us, and if you have any questions, this is our contact email, and Paula and Leticia are here. Leticia will lead the topic from November 1st. So if you have any questions, if you have any doubts or any will to penetrate the Brazilian market, we would be more than happy to help you. Thank you, and thank you again, everybody. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Tali. We also have here with us Rafael Monk from the Export Institute of Israel. Rafael, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, actually, Tali gave a great overview. First of all, thank you very much, Tali, the Economic Council and her team, Paola and Leticia, for working with me on this such an important market, because I really see there's a potential for collaboration. We do have many innovative companies, and I think not just for distribution, but maybe we, despite the challenges, and I think this is a market that is a bit not, let's say, a market that is not the first target of Israeli company because of its challenges. And this is, and on the other side, I think it's a market that we cannot avoid to consider and check how we can do best the cooperation for the beneficial interest of both sides. Thank you very much also Ms. Rejan Marton from Kulze, representing ABIMO, and the company Domo Salute for giving us a overview also on the challenges and how we can overcome them. Thank you for the companies that are here, and we can start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rafael. So now to start our keynote speaker, I will invite Regiane Marton, Board of Director of ABIMO, the Brazilian Medical and Dental Association, and that is also representing COSER in Brazil. Regiane, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you to be present to show a little bit about Brazilian market in dentistry, and it's a pleasure to me. Can you see my presentation? Oops.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So it's a pleasure to me to be here as president of COSER. Is a great overview when we're talking about that I am responsible for a subsidiary of Brazilian company COSER that is in Brazil since 40 years. What is great, because we in Brazil import and distribute, and as well as a board member of industry association, where I can see how is the support from the association to all companies that are in the national territory. So I have here the description of what is ABIMO. So we support to health production chain since the 1962. We support the companies via boards and work groups, and the entities responsible for all technical operation, the associative aspects of the health segment, including dental. Dental represents around 30% of the associates of ABIMO, and we supporting the associates gain more representativeness, becoming strong and more competitive. We have nowadays more than 300 companies that are national companies and international companies, and the associates are responsible for around 90% of the sales in Brazilian market. So Apex is the Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency that supports the company that wants to invest in Brazil, and we support of trade promotions projects in various industry organizations. The agency also serves companies for all sizes, focusing in small and medium companies and in any kind of stage of maturity exporter. And it works strategically to insert more companies into the international markets and welcome the international companies to Brazil. It's interesting because when I saw the Tali presentation, I think about what the numbers I would include in her presentation. That's so complete. So number of inhabitants, she said, but Brazil is the position of 29 worldwide as importer and the 27th position in worldwide as exporter. And our major producers are sugar, coffee, and soybeans. But it's a very important thing when we talk about international trade, the number of ports and airports we have in Brazil that serve all coasts of Brazil and able to import and export different kind of medical devices, because these ports and airports need to be, I would say, certificates or to have some certification to receive and to export medical devices. Yeah, so we are very well prepared to do that. To have an idea, last year we movement more than 1 billion of tons in products. It was a 4.2% over than previous year. So let's go to dental market. So we have in dental market big numbers in Brazil. Yeah, we have more than 360,000 dentists, more than 24,000 lab technicians, and we have almost 3,000 dental labs. Dental labs, we know that we have a little bit more, but these are the numbers that are certified by the Council of Dentistry. We have the Brazilian products in more than 140 countries, and nowadays we have more than 400 universities that graduates more than 90,000 students a year. So it means that more than 90,000 new dentists a year in Brazil consuming products. Yeah. The odontology sector is the most competitive of all branches represented by ABIMO. So as I told you, it represents a little bit more than 30% of the total of associated, and we are in different regions of the world with Brazilian products. Here's very interesting graph that I bring to you. So these are the numbers of import and export products. It is from 2020. So in 2020, we import a little bit over than 98 millions of US dollars. And it is interesting to see that we import the Israel figures like a 30 country in the volume of importation products in dental market. This number is completely focused in dental. We import from 42 countries, and we exported to more than 140 countries in a total of 73, a little bit, almost 74 million of US dollars. And these are the countries that more buy our Brazilian products. Yeah, so Brazil is very active, has very active participation in main segment fairs that to showcase Brazilian production and also capture rewarded years trended news. We have a high demand, results in great ability to make deals, investment, and constant innovations. As you can see here, the average growth since 2012 till now, it's 4.4% number of dentists in the market. And the development pace increasing Brazilian production to meet the needs because the density in Brazil is a very, I would say, high level and demands a lot of high technology quality of the materials as well as regulatory staff. So Brazilian odontology is leader in scientific papers production in Latin America, and the second one in a worldwide scale. We have the international experience of Brazilian professionals, so it brings bridges that increase the quality of Brazilian research, quality of Brazilian clinical activities. And we have the intercontinental relationships. So it's a base for a good partnerships between Brazilian industry and the university and professionals. And also it's an industry and prominent center of reference of worldwide technology. In terms of quality and competitive pricing, we have a positive scenario. It's a productive chain and very professional regulatory system. Here it's very important to point that to be a very professional regulatory system doesn't mean to be a challenge, because we have nowadays kind of harmonization with the better regulatory systems of the world. We have inside of ANVISA, our regulatory agency, very experts, professionals, including in dental market. So Diego will bring more information, but from the perspective of industry, like Cusa in Brazil, we never had any problem. So for sure, we needed to be professional. We needed to bring products that are very safe to the health. But once we are able to be professional, the system works very well. We are able to bring different kind of products. We don't have big issues with licenses or so on. So it's important to point this. And Brazilian industry abilities is to teach by showing. So the industry in Brazil, it's like to show the products, like to teach how to use the product. It's very able to demonstrate the application of the products and solutions, to show expertise in manufacturing technologies and also dynamic of use of such technologies. Brazilian dental innovation is really recognized worldwide, from consumables to instruments, through the equipments and the odontics and implants. And through the investment on research and development, Brazilian companies are able to produce chemical process that turn into the market evolution. So we have not only Brazilian companies, but as well as different kind of investment from foreign companies that support us to do this important investment on research and development. The highlight in the dental sector in Brazil, it's orthodontic and bioceramic cements and implant area. Implant area is an area that is growing a lot in last years. And it includes also the, I'd say, integrated clinic for aesthetic market also, because it's growing a lot. Brazilian manufacturers in implant area are celebrating partnership with renowned research institute like Chalmers University that is in Sweden, and it is thought as a birthplace of the worldwide implantodontics. And the professionalism of Brazil, of the Brazilian enterprise, is associated to the high level of engagement with research, technology, and innovation supported by ABIMO. So it's very important to say that ABIMO gives a lot of support in any kind of topics we have, since the production, since the labor laws, since the regulatory affairs, and also compliance, anything that needed to be prepared in terms of a company to be established in Brazil and to have success in our market, resulting in one of the biggest and professional dental markets in the world. We figure as a 4 in the ranking of the dental care, and the last years we movement more than 7 million of US dollars in the total of sales of dental products in Brazil. I think it's what I have. I will share the presentation with you, and here are the sources that I use to the presentation. Yeah. So I'm here available if you have questions or any doubts about the presentation, or would like to make questions, please feel free.
Thank you very much, Regiane. We will have a Q&A session, and I'm sure they will have a lot of questions for you in a few minutes. So thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Diego Lozada, co-founder ANVISA Development for Domo Salute. Diego, the stage is yours.
So thank you very much, Paula. As mentioned by Regiane, Brazil, regarding its regulatory environment here, you may expect like not a challenging environment, but really clear legislations, really clear regulatory requirements. And as Regiane mentioned, Brazil is already harmonized with many regulatory agencies around the world. So if your company is already in other markets, you should not expect surprises here in Brazil when it comes to the regulatory roadmap to be performed. So talking a little bit about ANVISA, just to put things in place. So ANVISA is an autonomous arm of the government, and it is responsible for the protection of the public health of our population. as mentioned, I believe that this matches with what Regiane said and with which I just said, that ANVISA is amongst the world's leading regulatory agencies and a member of the IMDRF. So for some legislations, for some types of products, ANVISA is one of the first agencies in the world to be really aligned with the IMDRF requirements. IMDRF is the International Medical Devices Regulatory Forum, right? So in order to market medical devices in Brazil, you need to get the ANVISA approval previous to the product being exported to Brazil. So just some highlights, like the registration should be requested by a local company. Only Brazilian companies can hold ANVISA registrations, and the company that will be the ANVISA registration holder must be legalized and must be in compliance with the Brazilian sanitary laws. So the company must have an ANVISA permit to be the registration holder of medical devices. So when it comes to launch your medical devices in Brazil, you have three different options. You can establish your own Brazilian company. You can establish your own subsidiary here, your own office, your own branch. You can use a local distributor, as if you have a partnership with a distributor and you would like to use them to be a registration holder. Or the third option is to have a Brazilian registration holder company, such as ours, to be the holder, and then you can make businesses and have businesses with different distributors, and they would be authorized by the holder of the registration. So to start, regarding the registration roadmap here in Brazil, everything will rely regarding ANVISA in the classification of the device. So to start, the correct classification of the device is essential according to the risk assessment, right? So medical devices are classified according to the intrinsic risks that they may represent to the health of the consumers, patients, operators. And as a note, right, dental products here in Brazil are considered medical devices with ANVISA, and they follow the same resolution, the same legislation that ANVISA has for medical devices, which is RDC 185. So the classification rules will rely on the intentions of use of the dental product, the consequences upon any failure on the device, the associated technology, for example, if the device has any kind of drug associated with that, the anatomy, the invasiveness, for example, if it has any contact with the central nervous system, or if it has any contact with the central circulatory system, and the period of contact. If it is, for example, an implant, that the period of contact is really long, or if it is a product that has just like a 1 minute contact or even less, then this will also determine which is the risk class of the device. So for classes 1 and 2 here in Brazil, if your dental product is a class 1 and 2, and you think that the regulatory may be a burden, I can safely tell you that it will not be a burden. Brazil, for classes 1 and 2, has a notification process. It's a very simplified process, right? Then once you submit the approval, the submission, once you submit the approval documentation to ANVISA, ANVISA takes not more than 1 month. It will never take more than 1 month to get the registration. So ANVISA will not analyze the documentation prior to issue the registration for classes 1 and 2. Class 2 in the past, they used to have technical analysis from ANVISA, and the deadline was up to 3 months. But since last year, ANVISA has changed this scenario, and class 2 is also part of a notification process. And therefore, there is no technical analysis, and the registration is pretty smooth. Also, for low-risk class products, the registration does not expire. So once you do it, you will have it forever valid until you decide to cancel it. It will be a valid registration. So examples of dental products that are within classes 1 and 2 are drills and other reusable instruments, intraoral scanner, tooth whiteners, dental crowns are some examples that we included in the presentation just to show. So for classes 3 and 4, it's a bit of a different scenario. although the registration itself, the registration route is pretty clearable, is pretty clear. And it's a process that requires a more complete documentation. Previous to the product submission, to the product registration submission, the manufacturer should have a GMP certification. Now let's dig a little bit further on the GMP certification, and then we are back to that slide. So the GMP certification is the Brazilian Good Manufacturing Practices. So as I mentioned in the beginning, ANVISA is really aligned with the IMDRF. So MDSAP is recognized here in Brazil. So if your company is already MDSAP certified, then the MDSAP will grant your BGMP certification. The BGMP certification is valid for 2 years, right? And once you apply for it, ANVISA will do a documentation analysis, and based on the documentation that is submitted of the manufacturer, then ANVISA will decide if that company should be visited by the ANVISA inspectors or not. And for sure, if the company is MDSAP certified, it will not be visited. The MDSAP will be enough to cover the BGMP requirements. But even if the company is not MDSAP certified, you submit the documentation, ANVISA can decide to grant the BGMP certificate even without an audit. This is also possible. So once you have the BGMP certificate, now we are back to the previous slide, you are good to go, right, to request the product itself registration, right? So the registration approval of the product itself takes approximately 8 months, right, after the manufacturer is BGMP certified. The registration is usually to be valid for 5 years. Now it is valid for 10 years. Then it should be renewed. And examples of dental products that are within classes 3 and 4 are implants, dental X-ray machine, dental regenerative membranes. So this is an interesting topic to show how the regulatory environment here in Brazil at the moment is more friendly than it used to be. This was published by ANVISA this year, right? And it shows that the average time for the first reply that you get from ANVISA once you submit a registration for the different types, different risk classes, they are all becoming shorter. So for even this darker green here would be for the higher risk class here in Brazil, and as you can see, it used to be a longer time to get the first reply from ANVISA in 2020, even during the pandemic, which ANVISA was really full of work with everything that was happening. The lead times for the agency, from the agency to get their reply from any registration submission were even shorter than ever. So now switching a little bit from ANVISA to INMETRO. I'm not sure if everybody has heard about INMETRO, but INMETRO is a type approval that may be needed for some kinds of medical devices. For example, electrical ones will need INMETRO approval prior to the ANVISA submission. So it is basically a systematic procedure that will attest a certain degree of confidence. So this slide, I believe it shows really clear how the process is done. So you need to hire a certification body, such as the world recognized ones, such as UL, Intertech, TÜV Rheinland, TÜV SÜD, TÜV Nord, and SGS, or any other. They have their own branches here in Brazil. So you hire, if your device, for example, is electrical one, you would need to do the INMETRO prior to the ANVISA submission. And then you hire the certification body. They will audit the factory according to the INMETRO requirements, right? And then along with the test reports and other technical documentation, they will issue the INMETRO cert to the company. And this INMETRO cert should be added to the ANVISA submission files and be submitted to ANVISA as a part of the dossier to be submitted to the agency. So these are the products that are regulated by INMETRO. So you have the equipment under sanitary surveillance regime, which are the electrical ones. You have hypodermic needles and gingival needles, syringes, and gloves. The ones here that are more gray are the ones that I believe that do not apply, right, to the dental field, but we cap it here so you can have the full picture. But these 4 ones would be the ones from the dental field that would need an immaterial certification prior to the ANVISA submission. For example, implants, tooth whiteners, this kind of products, they do not need an immaterial approval prior to the ANVISA submission. So it's a really, it's even a smoother registration route. So as I know that some kinds of dental products now they are starting to have wireless technology embedded to it, just to show you that there is Anatel, which is the equivalent here in Brazil to the FCC that you have in the US. So it deals with the wireless communication. If the device has a Bluetooth or has a Wi-Fi, for example. So Anatel is approval that only Brazilian companies can perform it, can be the holder. The testing should be done in Brazil, right? And it's a smooth process based on product classification, testing, certification, and then you do the homologation. If the company is already familiarized with the FCC, you can expect a really similar, if almost equal process for the Anatel. At last, I will show some frequently asked question that I have that we get from our customers. So is it possible to transfer my register? So for classes 1 and 2, since both of these classes have migrated to notification process, it is not possible anymore to transfer them. Once you do it under the name of one company, if you choose to have the registration under the name of another company, then you would need to perform a new registration. While for the high risk class ones, the registration, the registration transfer is possible. And once you decide to transfer your registration from, for example, from one holder to another, or from one distributor to another, you can do it. But it's extremely important to keep in mind that you need the distributor authorization to perform the registration transfer. So without the distributor authorization, if only the manufacturer is willing to do the transfer, but the distributor is not willing to authorize it, then it will not be possible to do the transfer. Another common question is, will I have to translate all my documents for submission? No, the answer is no. And ANVISA accepts documents in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So if you have your documentation in English, it will be enough. Only the user manual and the labels of the products, they must be provided in Portuguese. Only this. All the rest of the documentation can be in English. And another common question is, should I be ISO 13485 certified to obtain ANVISA's approval? The answer is no, you do not have to be ISO 13485 certified. It's desirable, right? Because it proves the compliance of your KMS with ISO 13485. So this could be added to the dossier to make it more robust, but it is not mandatory, and ANVISA does not require ISO 13485 certificate for the ANVISA approval. So guys, this is pretty much what we had for today. As Paula mentioned, I'm totally available here for any questions or any comments that you may have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you very much. You made ANVISA process very clear for us. I never thought I would say that. So guys,
you actually made it very nice even.
Very nice, yeah. So the idea now, guys, is to have a Q&A session, but also like a round table. So if you have questions, or if you want to share your experience with Brazil, if you have some, please feel free. And I would like to start with the question. First to Regiane. Jenny, my question to you, as a president of an international company operating in Brazil for so many years, what would be your main advice for a foreign company looking into Brazilian market?
So I would say that it's very important to have support like industry association, because in case we have a lot of different kind of challenges when we have a company in any place of the world. And so to have agencies or associations that can support us with different matters is very important. Another topic that I would say it's very important to always take care about regulation, because it is, we have for sure the economic and administration scenario of the companies that it is, I would say, inside the strategy, but it has a lot of interference of the regulation. So to pay attention of the regulation, because it's different from different places of the world. And for that, also to receive support from the specialized consultative companies that we have in Brazil is important also. Yeah, and usually what we have in Brazil, it's I give an example of Cruiser. What we have to register products around the subsidiaries around the world is the same as Brazil. So it's different kind of compilation of documents, but the document itself, it's done by the original product in the headquarters. So it's not a topic. The topic is how to do that in Brazil. And so the consultatives are very important in this process.
Thank you very much, Virginia. And a question to Diego. Diego, so many companies are afraid of the Brazilian market because of the certification. So they always ask, which is the best way to come, if it's through an agent, through a certification expert as Domo. And a few companies has asked us about manufacturing in Brazil. If you think this is a good way, or more complicated to manufacture part of their device in Brazil or do an assembly here.
I would say that when I travel all around in medical trade fairs and in dental trade fairs, everybody says that Brazil is complicated. Brazil is complicated, and everything that I said, okay, try it. This is my first advice. Try it. Contact a Brazilian consulting company. Try to understand a little bit further regarding the requirements, regarding our device classification, before just stating that the Brazilian regulatory environment is not clear. I'm pretty sure that the companies will have a very good surprise when they really understand the regulatory environment here. And regarding manufacturing here in Brazil, I would say that it should be an advantage when it comes to taxes, right? Maybe Regiane can add some on that, but all you need to do, the registration itself, it's pretty much the same, right? For foreign equipment or for national equipment, the registration is the same, the documentation needed is the same. But the only difference is that when it comes to opening your factory here in Brazil, you need to get the sanitary permits for that factory to be a medical device manufacturer. It's not a hard process to be done. It will depend a little bit on where you will place your factory. Some legislation from the city or from the state may apply, right? So it's really important to choose the right place. Brazil is huge, right? So geographically speaking, it is important to choose the right place. But we already have customers that they started their business exporting to Brazil. They tested their product here. They found that their product had market here. And then the second phase of their business plan is to start opening their own factory in Brazil and doing some part of their manufacturing process here. And so far, they are finding the process is smooth, right? It's a process that is, even during the pandemic, Brazil has a very fast, in a very fast way, dealt with the pandemic, promoting remote audits instead of on-site audits. All of our system has adapted really fast to that. So I would say that if you are thinking to have your own factory in Brazil, just understand the requirements in a clear way, and you will not face any kind of issues. With really clear deadlines, it's totally possible to be done.
Thank you very much.
I would add that, as he told, the complexity in tax regulation, it's quite high, but on the other hand, we have also benefits from the tax regulation that is completely different of the rest of the world, and it is an advantage for imported products. And it depends of the region you are with medical devices, you have higher benefits for medical devices. It happens in different kind of rubs and product segments in Brazil. So find where is the medical device benefit is better. Also can be an advantage to have manufacturing or even importation process in Brazil.
Thank you.
Do we have questions from one of the companies, or? I wanted to ask then about the research and development. If a company is doing clinical trials in Brazil, will it facilitate the process of, after partnership and maybe distributing in Brazil? Do you think it's like a good way to enter the Brazilian market?
I will start, but I'd like that Diego also add something. Yes, in the point of view that if you have studied, first of all, to start any kind of clinical study, you needed to have authorization from health authorities. And we have the regulation specific parts for that. So you need to fulfill requirements and premises to make this clinical study. But once it is done, it can be used also in the process of registration. So in the way that it becomes easier and advanced steps when you already have some researchers. And it's very important also to also have partnership in Brazil with someone that will be the responsible for the research. Yeah, so or you can choose one another partnership company, or you can university or researchers, but it's important that this person is in Brazil and responsible for the research.
Yeah, just to add that from the regulatory approval perspective, it will not be a kind of an advantage to have the clinical trial done in Brazil, right? This should be like a decision from the manufacturer itself to conduct that clinical trial here. But we have customers from all over the world that have never conducted clinical trials here, and they have performed safely their registration. So it can be a desirable thing, but it's not a must, right, to do the regulatory approval.
Thank you. Is there any other question? Otherwise, I may have another one. Anybody? So my question is in terms of distributors, are there national distributors, or is this a regional distributors system?
Yeah, we usually the biggest part of the distribution of dental products in Brazil is done via dealer. Nowadays, we have one of the biggest global dealer that is Shine Group, present in Brazil since 2014. They bought the main two distributors, that it's Dental Kremer and Dental Speed. And nowadays they represent around 50% to 60% of the market share in distribution. But we also have many local distributors. To have an idea, we have the trend to have around 1,000 distributors around Brazil, specifically for dental market. And around 100 dealers in Brazil represent 8% of the business. So they are more regional dealers, smaller, but this, when we talk about e-commerce or online platforms of sales, we talk about the lower number of dealers. But we also have the representatives like who distributes like chairs or equipment that can be sold direct from the company to the end user. It's also happened for the big devices, but in general for the consumables and the small products are done via dealer. And I think it's important to mention that before the pandemic, we already started a movement of e-commerce platforms, and with the pandemic, it speeded a lot. And the market, I would not say recover from the pandemic because we are still in the pandemic, but the recovery of the business, it's completely surprised for all of us in the dental market that it is doing really well. The dentists recover very fast in terms of clinical activities. It takes 3-4 months, very low profile in terms of activities, but after this period, it recovers a lot. So the patients go to the dentist starts to work again, and the market recovers. And nowadays we have numbers that in the same period of time in 2021 is above than 19. Yeah, so it means that we are really in a recovery period of business in the dental market.
Great to know.
Questions?
You can open your cameras and mics if you want to make your question or send in the chat, everyone.
I think your
Sorry, no, I
presentation
just
was
wanted
quite
to comment when Regeni and Diogo spoke about the taxes. I want to remind that Israel has the agreement with the Mercosur, so it means that even if you import your goods, if of course it is in the agreement and you are on zero import tax, it might affect also other taxes and still be with a competitive price to the local market or to the regional market coming from other places in Latam, and it's a big advantage that Israeli companies should use. And,
yeah.
If you want to know, if the companies want to know if the item is the agreement, first, of course, the lists are published, but you can also turn to us and then we will do a specific check and see if it is in the agreement, and that there is a big advantage. Yes, it is. It is sometimes it stays so competitive as national products. Yeah, depends of the region and the agreements with the state of the seat. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Rafael, you wanted to say?
Yeah. Yes. I just want to say, well, we have many companies that are really innovative, but young and small companies. And so do you have any advice of what for those companies would be the best way? I suppose that there's a bit of difference if a company is already on more international, then the difficulties are different. But first of all, when you work with a distributor, a big distributor in Brazil, is he taking part of the marketing, or does the manufacturer have to take all the marketing step, or does it vary? And do you have any suggestion of what is the best way for smaller, very innovative company?
I would say that to a smaller and innovative company would be interesting to find partners in Brazil because to go to the market, I think, is the main challenge in the beginning. And it can take advantage to have good partners and improve a portfolio for both. Yeah, so go to the market with their own brand, with innovative. The Brazilian companies also were very open to receive and to be partner to develop this in Brazilian market. Yeah, but it also depends of the level of investment they wanted to do. And also there is an opportunity to do together with distributors, because some distributors like Henry Schein Group has their private label products. So it's also an alternative to go to the market. And in that case, go direct to the customer and via dealers. I'd say that we have some alternatives, yeah, and we also can do this via ABIMO. Like if some company has interesting, we can bring the information, share with associates, check what is the associated interesting to be partner and to receive. We already have some Brazilian companies in ABIMO that is partner of another companies from the world that is in the market together. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Thank you very much, Regeni. So I think we're reaching the end of our time, but maybe you can comment, and if you know if there are any events or any I don't know, conferences or something that are planned for 2022 that you would recommend new companies that want to penetrate the market or to reach, that you think that if the Brazilian market is what you want, so you should be there? If you know that it's happening, you know, we all know reality, so.
Yeah, we have in Dental Market the biggest event that happens and will take place in end of January, beginning of February. I will send it to you, specifically the link for this event. This event is a great opportunity to know dental market in Brazil, because we have Brazilian companies. We also have an international pavilion with different companies from the world. And it's a event that figures dentists, lab technicians, clinics, and all, I would say it's a small maquette of dental market inside of event, because it's really interesting how to see. And the main companies are there. So I think it's good opportunity to know Brazilian market, to understand what we're talking about. ABIMO will be there with a booth, so we are able to receive you and welcome you to understand a little bit more about dental market in Brazil.
In São Paulo, right?
In São Paulo, it is in São Paulo.
Physically for now.
Yes, it is. It's doing now. I think today is the last day maybe of the online version of the CIOSP, but it is still time to go there and to see what is this. This online event is still a little bit small because it's the first one, but the biggest one in January, we have time to be there. So I will send the link to you in São Paulo.
Great, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you both, Regiane and Diogo, for your collaboration, and with Diogo, I can almost say partnership with everything that we do together, and I hope with you too, Regiane. And Rafael, thank you very, very much, and of course, Paula and Leticia for organizing it, and the companies. I think the most important message is that Brazil is open to receive you, and we are open to help you with it. So anything that you need, we are here for you, and you can contact us. And thank you very much. Have a great evening and good day for the Brazilian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.